You're listening to Superpowers of the Soul on the Superpower Up Podcast, the show that elevates superpowers to the divine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jennifer Urezzio, superpower expert and founder of Soul Language, and this is Superpowers of the Soul. And I'm with Sharon Wilson today, and we're talking about creating that spiritual center in your heart's focused business. So, let's talk. So, I love this topic. I am so, from the heart, from spirit. I spent 17 years in marketing and PR. Where I wasn't allowed to tell people the truth.
Right.
Right. And we're going to do a deep dive in that topic in a couple of minutes. But I always like to start with my favorite question which is, what is your superpower of your soul?
This is such a great question, Jennifer, and I'm so grateful that you offered that to me ahead of time so I could think about it, because I actually didn't want to come from my head on this. I wanted to come from a heart space on it, and so I really did have an opportunity to just really sit with that and even meditate and say, what is the superpower of my soul? And one of the things that since I was small, I've always been someone that seems to have a gift of helping people to activate their vision. When I was a kid in kindergarten, the first week, I brought a little boy home the first week, and I told my mom, gets me off the bus, and here comes this little boy with me. And my mom says, well, who is this? And I said, this is my friend, and everyone makes fun of him because he doesn't know his ABCs. But I'm going to show him how to do his ABCs so nobody will make fun of him anymore. And my mom said, does his mom know that he's here?
Did you give that this little boy?
So that was the beginning. So, and so, it's interesting because all through my life, that's really what has really given me the jazz. It's really excited me in anything I've ever done. Just like you, I spent time in marketing and PR and sales and corporate America, nonprofit organizations, fundraising, all kinds of stuff. And that was always what really gave me the most amount of fulfillment, was seeing other people being activated, their confidence being activated, their sense of higher potentiality being activated. And, and whether I realized it or not back then, really a big part of that was helping people to connect to their inner guidance. Even though I didn't say it that way, it was really about this idea that, you have what you need within you. And it was a lot about, activating your belief in yourself. And I thought it was interesting because even my title and the name of my company, Coaching from Spirit, they came to me in a meditation 20 years ago, but then my title is Chief Inspirational Officer. So I have to say that I really feel that that is one of the core things, along with then being able to help people to be able to activate in others that they're talking to, especially around a business perspective, their potentiality. So that's when we kind of get into sort of that, that subgroup of the superpower. So, so that really kind of what came to me, Jennifer.
That's amazing. The next question I have is, as you've been on this journey, what has been the common theme that your soul has shared with you?
Well, I think really the common theme is, and it's been a mantra that has become so powerful because, like so many of us that, have found ourselves with heart-centered businesses or doing this kind of work, we have all kinds of stories of all kinds of challenges and contrasts, what people might see as, obstacles or things that have happened to us. And for me, it's really been about that. There's a mantra that somehow, some way, there'll be a way. Things will work out and good will come out of even what looks like the most awful things. So like I'm sure like many who are listening to this, I've had a lot of challenges in my life. My parents were divorced when I was 18 after, 20 years of marriage, which was, really kind of crazy. My dad died at 40 from suicide,
Wow.
And on and on. I'm sure, we all can just sort of lay out all the things. But one of the things that my soul continues to show me and to support other people on is that we have a choice, how we experience whatever setback or challenge. And I say seeming setback or challenge. We can either go through it or grow through it. And I'm not sure who said that. I'm not going to take credit for that, but that is really powerful, that we have a choice about how we see what seem to be obstacles or how we see what seem to be challenges. Even how I ended up getting into this work, 20 years ago came from having a dark night of the soul. And at the time, that didn't seem at all like that was going to be something that was going to be a shining glory. At the time, I was considering leaving the planet of my own hand. And, so when you look at it at that time, that was a very dark time and a very challenging time, but so much good has come out of it in so many ways. And so I just think it's so, that as you go through, I've heard people talk about, the beautiful gems and are made in the heat and in the power of the heat. And I'm not sure why as human beings that is the case for us. Well, I think it has something to do with some soul curriculums that we've agreed to, even though I would say I never agreed to anything like that. But I think at a soul level, we do agree to certain divine curriculums. I like to think of them, and that you're assured that somehow you will get through it, and you can even be better on the other side of it. But that there's going to be a lot that will be activated through those kinds of situations.
Yeah, we have two more questions before we break here, but I also wanted to touch base. We talk a lot about sacred purpose and what sacred purpose is, and I believe sacred purpose is first for you and then for others, right? It's what you're profoundly here to experience, and my sacred purpose is to alleviate suffering through connection. And so I'm always going to take people back to that connection. And you shared some really amazing stories here. And so how is that linked back to your sacred purpose? And how then does your sacred purpose reflect in what you offer individuals and how you operate in the world?
Yeah, those are great. You really do have a great superpower of asking questions. I really, really want to acknowledge that. Well, sacred purpose. So my sense is that my sacred purpose is about being an activator, about activating in myself, activating in others, and being able to then be a ripple effect. The activation has a ripple effect. I love what you said, because it really has to start with us. So it's always about, activating whatever wants to be activated in me, and then being able to hold that, for others as well, and being able to come from a place of, real empathy and connection, but at the same time to see something more for others, to not see them in their weakness, but to see them as they want to be. And I think that's all of our sacred purpose.
I would agree.
We're all one, and to support each other in seeing each other as we want to be. And I think it's so powerful that, I never have any baggage for anybody else, Jennifer. It's just baggage for me.
Yeah, you got enough carrying your own luggage around. Why do you need to carry it?
But I have no baggage for you. I think you could do anything. I think everybody can do anything. So I think it's so important to have people, and for us as people, to be those activators for people, and to see each other as we want to be. I don't know if you watched the wedding, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Okay, but one of the things that people were talking about, which was so powerful, was Bishop Curry's delivery, and when he was talking about envisioning the world coming from love. Now that was so powerful that 3 billion people watched that wedding. I was one of the 3 billion that watched it, and we all went to church that day. For 20 minutes, we imagined a world, governments that were ruled by love, companies that came from a place of love. I thought that was so incredibly powerful. I mean, I had goosebumps the whole time, and I thought, this is a powerful activation. Wow, this is really what's happening here. So there is something so incredible when we can see that, even though it isn't maybe the case right at this moment. And there are a lot of things going on that would say, oh, we're nowhere near that. But the power, I think, is all of us holding the vision of each of us in our highest potentiality. So yeah. I think that is a big part of what we're all here to do. So that really permeates throughout everything, that I hold an intention to do.
Yeah, and if people want to get started activating something, I've said this before, and I'll give the tip out again. You can use your body's divine intelligence to put you in that consciousness level, because it knows. And it's simply divine intelligence, like activate love, or divine intelligence activate safety within my system. And if you keep doing it enough, you're going to it's going to overflow out into everything you touch. And it's really important to not only, if you believe you're whole and complete, or you have an inkling that you're whole and complete, then you must treat everyone on this planet as if they're whole and complete. And that becomes a whole different ball game of love, because then you're choosing to do and participate in things differently. So we're going to dive deeper in this, creating the spiritual center in your heart-focused business, in a minute after the break. But how do people get in touch with you? How do they get more of this goodness?
Well, yeah, I really have something that I think will really support people in this whole conversation, and they can go to www.coachingfromspiritinstitute.com/mentorbook, and that will really, continue this conversation.
Love it.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Superpowers of the Soul, and I'm with Sharon Wilson, and we're talking about creating that spiritual center in your heart-focused business. And I kind of really love this title because, excuse me, I have on my computer the scroll that says, with God, business is always good.
That's fantastic. I always say to people, the best, when you have a heart-centered business, you are on God's payroll. Like that's the best place to be. You never get laid off. You've got the grace benefits. It's really, I think we're all like sales reps for God. So that's really our, that's really our calling, no matter what we do. And what's funny, I was thinking on the break too, of this quote from Neil Donald Walsh, his book's Conversation with God, and something that really touched me. It was a quote that said something like, it doesn't matter what you do for a living. It matters what you're being when you're doing what you're doing for a living.
Yeah.
And that always, that has really, really touched me, because people, oftentimes I think, like in our businesses, we almost get defined, by the business, and almost feels like, well, that business is the purpose. But it really even isn't in the way that business is constructed. It's about what you're being as you're doing what you're doing in your business. My business has changed a lot over 20 years, and I've worked with a lot of people where there's been a lot of different kinds of changes. And I think it's so important that we get really to the core, like you're talking about, the spiritual center, the essence of, what's the essence of what I really am doing? What's the serving that I really feel compelled and excited and jazzed and passionate about, activating in the world? It's like those are those core questions that no matter what happens, then you'll always be drawn even if you weren't doing the business in that kind of particular way that you thought you would even be doing, you'll always be drawn into the area of service that is going to be the best match for you and for those that are called for you to serve.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, in soul language, we can actually identify the soul of that business, and I think that helps, heart-focused businesses really connect on a deeper level and put some tangibility and words around that, but I always say, listen, I would be doing what I'm doing now if I was a bartender. That would just be a sucky delivery system for me, right? But
exactly.
I can go anywhere. I've been in Russia and people come up to me and ask me a question in Russia or, tell me their deepest secret. And I'm like, I kind of know what you're saying, but I don't know how to communicate that. Right? And then it's just a smile and just holding the space. And I think that when it comes to kind of doing the business of heart-focused businesses, there's this, when they step into having to kind of create the structure or talk about it or, do all those things that most of them don't like to do, they sort of derail themselves from being at the center of that purpose. And what advice or what guidance would you offer someone that goes, okay, I know I'm great. I have all this proof, but I'm locked down in actually expressing it. What would you say to support them?
Well, I do think that that's one of the things that I love to support people to activate is that when we're in business, I mean, the bottom line is people need to purchase what we have, our programs, our products, our services. I mean, or else you're not in business,
right.
So I mean, that's just kind of the definition,
Right.
So, and I think that it really having a heart-centered business is just such an amazing divine curriculum because it can just really trigger you on every level. Unlike, you and I both worked in corporate, but we could kind of separate ourselves from that. But when you have your own business, it becomes very personal. That's really who I am. That's my baby. This energy that's, been created. And so often, one of the things I see with people is they really have challenges in the whole idea of talking to people about what they have. If we want to think of it in terms of, whenever I talk to people, I say, it's about part of my activational desire is to support people to transform the idea of selling into serving, because there's so much baggage around selling. And we get it because, all of us have experienced situations where we felt pushed or manipulated or pressured, and we no one likes that. I was saying to a group I was talking to, and I said, it's really funny because, you never have a kindergartner come home and everybody's so excited when Johnny says, guess what I want to be? I want to be a salesperson. Yes, that's what I want to do. No one's saying, oh yeah, this is so great, because there's this kind of this feeling, and it's sort of a societal thing that's sort of like, well, I even though people need to buy things, and we have this commerce and this reciprocity and all of that stuff, but there's some sort of like almost apologizing for the fact that I've got to hit, well, actually, if you really want to experience what it is that I'm offering, you have to buy it, and I just think that is one of the biggest challenges for people that have a heart-centered business, is to be able to really understand how to navigate that in a way that they can really find a way that that feels good for them to have a conversation with someone, or even even if someone is reading something you wrote, article, or whether it's information page. All of it is communicating to people.
Yeah.
And how do we do that in a way that serves them and supports them to an activation that, wow, I didn't even know that there was such a thing, like you have that product, that program, that service, but that is something that I think is an answer to my prayer. It means so often the kinds of things that oftentimes we're doing in these heart-centered businesses, not like someone's going to pick up a sticky note in the morning and say, I think I need to get myself somebody to talk more about the soul. I think I'm going to, I got to write that down on my sticky, my sticky
with your
note
milk
here
and
today.
eggs sticky, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like that so much as it is that we have to activate them to see, hey, all these things that you think have been a challenge and an issue, here's what really could be a solution. You just didn't know that was in your awareness. So I really feel that is one of the most challenging things. And I love, that is really just one of my loves, is to support people to be able to have these, I call them soulful conversations, soulful conversations that sell, so transforming that energy, because we all, have our beliefs about the whole idea of selling, and we've got to really look at that internally at that soul level. You look at some of the great avatars, and I mean, they were some of the greatest, quote unquote, salespeople there were, in order to enroll and engage people to come and follow them and, leave all their worldly things behind. And, I mean, when you really think about that, it was that connection and that soul level connection with those people to enroll them and engage them, that, this is something that really can support and serve you. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges that people who are starting, heart-based business or want to expand, or oftentimes, when I'm talking to people, is part of the foundational components. It's just, there's something that just isn't quite right. It hasn't been fully worked through.
Yeah, and I think that's, not just an external communication job, that's an internal too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially master healers, come from a place of, I want to be of service, but I don't want to pressure, and, I don't want to be like those people. And,
right.
And especially those foundational, when they're starting off their business, if they don't have a little nest egg, then they can also be coming from a place of lack, which is fear. And I was talking to a member of my community, and I go, well, just a crazy question, but do you ask for the business? And she went, what? I go, do you actually go, hey? She's like, well, I don't, I was like, you're not going, okay, wait, there's more. You're going, just simply asking without attachment. And let's, I remember when I was first starting out, and I would sell in all the programs for the woman I worked with when I was in corporate America, right? But I remember the first time, couple of years into my thing, and this woman's like, well, I want this. And I was like, oh, great, I could put you in touch with blah, blah, blah. And she goes, no, I want to work with you. And I went, oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot to that equation.
That's divine intervention.
Okay.
Fell into that. Yeah, it's true.
There's no kind of like, you really get to kind of move through the inner gook that's keeping you in a limitation around, being that service conversation and that soulful conversation. And I think part of that is really about letting go of lack and knowing that you're being loved and supported and provided for. And that's an ongoing process. And I have 2 last questions here before we wrap up. So if there's one thing that you want everyone to remember from our conversation today, what would it be?
Well, I really want people to remember that you really can do this. I mean, people that are being called, that there's a reason you're being called to the work that you're being called to, and that the guidance and the support is available to you. It's really, as you said, getting past all the noise and past all the gunk and past all the things that would hold us back. There really are 2 parts of our mind. There's kind of the fear-based part that always speaks first and speaks loudest, and then there's that still quiet voice that will lead us to practical guidance. And one of the most important things that we can do is to fully activate and recognize when we're in either mind. And you can go back and forth like a ping pong ball all day and go back and forth, but to begin to start to recognize that, that to really have a successful heart-centered business, it's really about activating at any given moment that connection. So if we're in a fear-based mindset, it's okay, but then to make the conscious choice to shift to activate something else, that we don't have to do this by ourselves. I think that's one of the most important things. When I started my business 20 years ago, I had 3 months of reserves in the bank. I had a newborn baby daughter. I was the higher income earner in our family. And I basically said to my husband, I'm not going back to corporate America. And he thought I was just hormonal. He just really didn't believe this was true. And I said, no, I have received the guidance, through, it's like a musculature, like a training. And I said, I've really received the guidance through meditation and journaling, which is really, listening and speaking and listening and praying. So meditation, journaling, and praying. And I really have a system that I teach people that they can use in a really practical way to do that. But to get that practical guidance, I've always been a very practical person, coming from corporate America. It wasn't like I was woo-woo or anything. It's very practical. And and I got very clear guidance. This is the time to do it. It made no logical sense, and I never suggest anyone do it unless I can't talk them out of it, because you really have to stand in a really super powerful place to be able to overcome that. But to be able to recognize that you can do it, that there is support, inner and outer. There is support to be able to do it. And if you're feeling this heart calling, you're feeling a heart calling for a reason, and and it's illogical oftentimes. I know for you, Jennifer, and for me, it was illogical. If I would have waited until it was logical, I never would have done it.
No.
I never would have done it. So it's about really being able to activate that at a level where you can begin to really start trusting your inner guidance on day-to-day things. Because then you can start trusting the inner guidance on bigger things, like should I just jump off the cliff here with my corporate America? And I called it a leap of faith, and I wrote about it in Jack Canfield's book, Mastering the Law of Attraction. It was a leap of faith, and it was one of the scariest things I ever did. But it also activated in me that if you're really feeling called to something, then you jump, and you're not going to fall. You're going to be caught. You'll have those wings that come from underneath and support you. And I've seen that over and over and over again. It's just really allowing yourself to get to that deeper connection where you can start really relying on that. And you talked about, your body is one way that, you can really tell which mind you're connected with. We have the tools. It's just we haven't been, from the time we were young, been taught that's it. We need to connect in with inner guidance, with intuition. All of that's kind of been pushed to the side for just our intellectual capabilities, and it's upside down. Really, it's harder.
Beautiful.
It's harder that way.
So that's a lot of guidance there, everyone. So if you want more of Miss Wilson, then you can contact her via her site. What's that again?
The link where they can go and actually get some more information on this and to support them in doing that and having practical guidance is coachingfromspiritinstitute.com/mentorbook.
Beautiful. And my last question is, if you were whatever you call your higher power, universe, tree, Bob, God, cupcake, if you were a magnet on that being's refrigerator, what would it say?
Oh, well, can you repeat that again? That's a great question, but I got to process that a little bit.
If you were a magnet on your higher power, universe, tree, Bob, cupcakes refrigerator, what would it say?
What was a magnet? So me as a person, I'm a magnet on my higher power's refrigerator?
Yeah.
Interesting. We are all one.
Beautiful. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I enjoyed our conversation, and, we're of like minds, and thank you for being you and showing up.
Thank you. This is beautiful, and thank you so much for your work. I just really want to extend support to everyone out there, and just to know that we're all in this together, and we're all here to support each other. And whatever you have is beautiful, and it is a snowflake, and there are absolutely people here that are called for you to serve. They are earmarked, energy marked for you, and I'm holding the vision and the intention that they're easily on their way to you now.
Beautiful. Well, everyone, if you like what you heard, you can connect with me and all the other experts in the Superpower Net, and that's superpowerexperts.com/the net. And don't forget, find your connection. Thank you.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the Superpower Quiz today.